I'm joined now by Peloton co-founder John Foley. John, good to speak with you. First and foremost, I was thinking back coming into this interview, and you're coming up on your 1-year anniversary of being a public company, September 26th, if
That's
I have
right.
it right. But half of that time as a public company, you've been managing through a pandemic. What has that been like?
Well, it's funny. It felt like the first 6 months, the markets were pretty anxious about us, whether it was profitability or growth for the first 2 quarters in the market, and then all of a sudden COVID hit. So it's been a wild first year for sure. Managing through COVID has been wild for two reasons. One, like every business, working from home and managing a global company via video chat has been a real adjustment from a culture perspective and a leadership perspective and communication perspective. And I think every company's been going through that collectively. But for Peloton, to your point, we've had the added complexity of having a crazy sales environment where people, gyms are closed and people want Peloton products and platforms more than ever. So it's been a lot of wind in our sail. Exciting times, obviously, but also super challenging times. It's been probably one of the hardest 6 months from a business operations perspective for our entire global operations team. It's been wild.
Before the IPO and then even after, you come out and you have these assumptions on what the business might turn into. But how has the pandemic changed some of the assumptions that you were thinking before the IPO and then even in those early stages after?
Yeah, so from our perspective, it's really just accelerated the inevitable. Working out at home is a better location. It's better to work out at home than having to travel somewhere. Think about Netflix. Think about watching a movie on your couch versus having to go somewhere and pay a lot of money to go to the movies. Similar metaphor, going to the arcade. In the 80s when I was growing, 70s and 80s, you went to the arcade. But today, arcades are gone because there's better platforms, better experiences at home. And so we've always seen this shift towards the home, towards our better experiences, towards the better value that you get when you're on the Peloton platform. But certainly COVID has been an accelerant to that shift.
Did the gyms go the way of the arcade? I don't have to tell you this, but since we last spoke, there have been countless gym chains filing for bankruptcy, and they may never emerge from the pandemic.
There have. I will remind you, Brian, that I was over at Barnes & Noble with my colleague, William Lynch, who's now the president of Peloton, but he was the CEO of Barnes & Noble. And we saw what was happening in the book category with book retailers. And what you've seen is that bookstores can still be found. They're not gone entirely, but it is a massively contracting category where the growth is on the digital side. And I think you're going to see that in fitness as well.
I'm a Peloton user. I've told you this repeatedly. When did you realize you were going to have to move your whole operation to live from home? For me as a user, it seemed to happen overnight, which I'm sure that wasn't the case.
It happened. Actually, we were probably a couple weeks late to the idea because we were able to keep our New York City studio open because we were seen as essential business, both for the deliveries and our content, because mental health and physical health was deemed essential, which it is, which made sense. But to answer your question, in probably mid-April, if you think about March 13th was kind of the end of days as we knew them. That Friday the 13th is when the world shut down, certainly here in New York. And I think by late April, we were streaming from some of our instructors' living rooms, which was a real fun experiment and continued innovation from the Peloton teams, which was really cool to see.
And clearly, you've proven that work from home model could be done. Do you need to still operate the big studios?
Well, I love our studios. We have this super studio called Peloton Studios New York and a super studio called Peloton Studios London. And I'm super excited for those to get back open. They're not. Neither of them are open. They're open for content. We have our teams and our instructors now streaming from those locations, but they're not open to the public because of the density of human beings, obviously. But just like our stores, we love our stores. We love our studios. We love our community. We love welcoming our community in person. So while we are a digital platform primarily, we do like to facilitate get-togethers, for you to come into Manhattan and meet Robin Arzon or Cody Rigsby or Alex Toussaint and take a class with some of your friends, whether they were friends before or whether you met them on the Peloton platform in the Peloton community, for you to have a place, a physical manifestation to come to experience the Peloton brand in person is something we're really proud of, and we're excited to reopen those when the time comes.
You said something among many things on your latest earnings call that caught my attention. I believe it was you've tried or you've looked at all the other competing products in the marketplace. I assume that's digitally connected punching bags or all those types of products out there. A product like a mirror. Why don't they impress you?
Well, one thing, as you brought up our IPO just a second ago, Brian, and a lot of the early investors or investors that didn't get us thought that fitness what we were doing might be a fad. And we're saying, well, there's nothing faddish about stationary cycling. There's nothing faddish about running. There's nothing faddish about yoga. What we do is very core cardio and strength and categories of fitness that have been around for decades, if not centuries. So some of the things you see feel like fringe products and fringe experiences that may or may not be here in 5 or 10 years. And so we're being very thoughtful about making sure anything we put the Peloton brand on is going to be here for, forever.
When I saw, so you came out with new products, a new higher end bike and a new, more affordable tread. And the first thing I thought when you came out with that press release, wow, it looks like Peloton is going to tier its product offerings like an Apple. What's your goal with that type of approach?
The goal, one of the biggest goals, Brian, is to address the affordability opportunity for Peloton. We think that everyone who wants fitness in their life should be able to get Peloton platforms into their home. Interestingly, there's close to 200 million people worldwide that have gym memberships. We think those same people don't want a gym membership. We think those people want to be fit. You're paying money to be fit is really the psychology. And so when you think about our lower price or lowering the price of our original Peloton bike, which we were happy to do this week, and then bringing a treadmill to marketplace that's dramatically more affordable, we're super excited about that, to your point, product positioning and pricing so that we can get more products in more homes and welcome more members into our community.
Is all of this to say that, you just don't want to necessarily be dropping lots of hardware on the market? It was also noted on the call that you'll have a prune product portfolio. So, I shouldn't expect Peloton to have a rowing machine.
Well, we've talked about it in the past. We are innovating on all kinds of new platforms that you're going to see in the coming years. I'm not going to comment specifically on the rower, but we do.
You always get asked. You constantly get asked this question about
I do. Sometimes I slip. Not today, Ryan.
Fair enough.
But we are innovating on cool new categories. I think we're going to surprise people. Certainly rowing is something that's been around for a long time and is a fantastic workout. I can definitely say that.
I've always viewed the Peloton secret sauce. It's the instructors from top to bottom. You really do hire some amazing people. But given the growth in the platform, do you have enough instructors?
Well, our instructors scale beautifully. As you know, one of the challenges was that shout outs don't scale. So that's been a challenge. And that's something that the tags infrastructure was a big win for, because an instructor can give a particular group or particular tag a shout out. But you're absolutely right. Our instructors are best in the world. They are the secret sauce along with our community. I think it was Rupert Murdoch who originally said content is king, and we're definitely believers, and we're investing, and we're going to continue to innovate on our content.
I know you've always been very focused on culture and Peloton, but also what's happening in the external in the world. It's been a very challenging situation, protests across the country, racial injustice. Tell us about the Peloton Pledge.
Yeah, we were very excited about the Peloton Pledge. Thank you for asking about it, Brian. $100 million pledge over the next 4 years to fight racial injustice, to be better internally at Peloton, and to help externally our communities. It's been a frustrating year for me, and I'm not a Black man or woman. So you can only imagine how some of these communities and some of these human beings feel in a country that doesn't feel as supportive as we need to be. And so to the extent that businesses can do our part, we're going to stand strong and stand proud and continue working hard for social justice across the board.
How do you get better? How do you improve hiring standards? How do you infiltrate that, your thinking and your feelings throughout the organization, a fast-growing organization, of course?
You talk about culture, you make it a culture, you have expectations, you communicate, you're self-critical, you call each other out when you're not where you want to be, you lead from the front as much as I can. But to answer your question, Brian, there's no panacea. It is, 50, 75, 100 different things that you need to address to even have a chance at being good at diversity and inclusion, your diversity and inclusion goals. But the good thing about working at a company like Peloton is your employees demand it. And I'm proud that whenever we're on the wrong side of the line with something, we have a very vocal group of employees. They're all, for the most part, shareholders. They all care deeply, and they call us out when we're not good. And I'm proud to work at an organization that does that.
One of the stories that I think doesn't get talked about enough with Peloton is that your wife is vice president of apparel. And in many respects, it still is a family business, public company, sure, but a family business. What has that dynamic been like during the pandemic? You're also a father of two small kids. How have you managed it all?
It's actually awesome, and thank you for asking. It's awesome that my wife works at Peloton because she's experienced the same crazy life for the last 6 months that I have. I mean, Peloton apparel has been exploding faster than the rest of our business, and so she's been, working, 18-hour days like I have, and building something very special. The community loves our apparel. She has a fantastic team. It's relatively discreet. It's not as integrated as some of the other parts of our business. So she's a business owner, and she's been dealing with the crisis like I have, but running her side of the business has been fun.
For parents that are watching this and ultimately see it, what are some of your best tips? How do you just stay sane?
Well, you start with a Peloton workout in the morning to get your endorphin. My wife actually works out probably twice as much as I do, so she's more of the poster child at this point than I am. But you do have to, get your workouts in, especially when you're working from home in a kind of a self-quarantine or a quarantine shelter-in-place world. I would say over the last 6 months, the family stuff has suffered the least. I mean, we're together. We've been with our family perhaps more than any 6 months on record, and it's been very special. We cook bacon and eggs in the morning in a way that I can't remember. Probably went 3 or 4 years without doing that with my son and daughter, and now we're making peanut butter and jelly sandwiches together, and we're making breakfast. And so family has been a unique win during COVID, as everyone, and I don't think we're unique in that sense. Obviously, the company culture, you got to get creative because you're not going to work and you're not seeing those people. But on the flip side, you're seeing your family more than ever, and it's been really special.
I think we've talked once or twice since the, speaking of creative, since the Peloton Girl ad dropped. How did you view the market's response to that? And is that approach, that type of marketing, is that what we should expect from Peloton moving forward?
I hope not, Brian. I think we're going to learn from that experience. We do have some super cool marketing coming out this fall, some brand spots with our new head of global marketing, brand marketing, Dara, who we're very excited and pleased to have onboarded. And she's going to do some great stuff and really paint her masterpiece here at Peloton. But with respect to that ad last year, as we did a postmortem on it several times, it felt to me like there's just still baggage in the fitness category of all of for decades and decades, bad brands, bad marketing, gimmicky products. And so I think we were lumped into the association with some of those, all the baggage in the categories, because we don't sell weight loss, as you know, we sell happiness. And you, Brian, understand it more than most, is just, it's not about hard body. It's not about, six-pack abs. It's about being a good father, a good professional, a better version of yourself, and being happy because you have fitness in your life. And we know that, and our members know that. Last year, I guess that ad didn't quite strike the right chord of communicating that in the right way. So we'll be better moving forward.
Well, I don't know about you, but I'm still trying to get those six-pack abs, John. Don't sell me short. Just a couple quick last ones on the business for you. You exited your most recent quarter with $1.8 billion in cash, and the only liabilities I really see on the balance sheet, about $500 million lease liabilities for your retail stores. What are you going to do with all that cash? Is Peloton, I understand you're going to build out your content, you're going to build out your studios, you're going to go more international, but are you a consolidator? There's a lot of companies out there doing interesting things on the hardware side. Do you have a portfolio of brands?
Well, I will tell you, we have one of the best heads of strategy and M&A, a guy named Dion Camp-Sanders, who came from Disney. He's a brilliant guy, and he promises to do some fascinating, incredible stuff and painting his professional masterpiece at Peloton. The challenge that he has is that there's not that many awesome, innovative technology companies in the fitness category or around the fitness category. So one of the reasons why Peloton is doing well is just there hasn't been that much innovation or capital or software or content for that matter going into the fitness category. So we will keep our ear to the ground. We will be acquisitive when it makes sense, but it's a more shallow pool of targets than you want it to be. So he's actually expanding it to be more creative. Like a couple years ago, we bought a company called Neurotic Media, which was a music technology platform that helped create the foundation of us understanding and being able to pay all the music partners and giving tools for our instructors to play their music. And it was a great acquisition, but it wasn't something that people were expecting. So we might, and then last year we bought one of our manufacturers in Taiwan, and we're happy to do that, a company called Tonic Fitness. That's been a fantastic leadership team and a fantastic acquisition. So we'll be smart and strategic under Dion's leadership. And like you, I look forward to seeing what he comes up with.
Two more for you. Where's Peloton in 15 years? In terms of users, in terms of sales, where do you see the brand going?
Yeah, so we have I call it a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal of having 100 million members, 100 million subscribers, and a net promoter score of 100. To our knowledge, there's not a company in the world that has a 100 net promoter score, and certainly 100 million subscribers gets us in that rarefied air of some of the FANG stocks. And we think that Peloton has the opportunity to be one of those special companies, and we have thousands of people at Peloton who are marching in that direction every day, and doesn't look like we're slowing down anytime soon.
And lastly, throughout the pandemic, what's been your biggest surprise, your biggest aha moment?
Throughout the pandemic, how nice life is when you don't need TV, maybe, how much you can get outside. It's been weird without sports, although I will say I'm happy to have NBA back on.
Yeah, you and me both. And I really, it was great to see that integration with the Last Dance. I know that was a home run for you guys. All right, well, I know I'm probably keeping you from the bike, so you got to get on the bike. I'll get on the bike. John Foley, co-founder of Peloton. Always good to speak with you.
Thank you, Brian. Always a pleasure. Thanks for having me.